Hey Thrivers, how's it going? Hope you're having a fantastic day today. I'm really excited. I know some of you expressed interest in today's topic of what to do when your spouse pisses you off. I was really looking forward to sharing this. My marriage is by no means perfect, and that's the whole point, right? A thriving marriage doesn't necessarily mean a perfect marriage, but it is one where you are able to tend to your marriage, kind of like a garden. It's thriving, but occasionally there's some weeds that have to be pulled out. So we want to make sure that we have the right tools to deal with those weeds when they come in. One of the most common things that we see in a marriage is that when you're first, I'm going to use my little board here. So bear with me as I try to draw things for you. I'm not an artist. But when you're first in love, right, before you're married, this is you. You're both very, very happy. And you're very much in love. Okay. All of the problems that you have seem to be outside the marriage, right? It's your work, it's your schooling, it's your parents, it's your car, it's your job. Everything is outside of you. However, once you're married, it seems like all of the problems then shift to being right here, inside the marriage. How many of you can relate to that? I know there's a couple of you watching, so hi, welcome. If you have any questions or comments for me, that's what these live streams are for. So let me know whatever comments you have or any questions you have, and we can definitely address those. So we shift from having all the problems outside of us, they're always external, to now everything is about all the problems within the marriage, and they usually have to do with the person that we're married with, right? And so there are going to be times, because we are human, that our spouse just makes us mad, just does something that really gets under our skin. And for some of you, that might be a daily, hopefully not, but maybe even an hourly occurrence. And so that's definitely something that you want to address. You want to make sure you have the right tools to pull out those weeds in your garden to allow your marriage to really thrive. So I'm going to share with you a couple of those tools today that have truly transformed my life and my relationship. And the beautiful thing is that good communication, especially when you're upset, especially when you're angry, is something that can be learned. And I'm actually evidence of that. I did not grow up or come into marriage with these skills whatsoever. My husband was miles ahead of me. And so if you have a spouse like that, that's wonderful. But if you are feeling like, man, I didn't grow up in a home like that, I never was taught how to do that, the encouraging thing is that you can absolutely learn how to do some of these things. So we're going to talk about the old way of dealing with our anger versus the new way, okay? I don't want to make anyone wrong. I originally wrote it the wrong way versus the right way. And I said that's exactly what I'm trying not to teach. So it's the old way versus the new and better way. So I'm going to illustrate this with something that just happened in our marriage that Ben, my sweet husband, gave me complete permission to share. So this is with his permission. But I got really, really angry with him, not this Sunday, but the Sunday before that. And I have not felt that in a long time. Luckily I've gotten to a place, like we're in a place in our marriage where I haven't felt anger like that, but occasionally it does happen. And the circumstances were such that it was Sunday, and we are very heavily involved in doing service for our church. And so Sunday is a day devoted to family and to rest, worshiping, but also to serving the fellow members and other people in our community that might need it. And so my husband was out serving while I was home with the children, visiting some sick people and helping some people out who were having a hard time. And that's a normal thing. And we also have an expectation that while we serve, we are home and we are there for family dinner. We have a set time for family dinner. It's between 5:30 and 6. And then after that, we have a family council. It's where we get our children together, plan our week. And this is a regular routine. Like, it's an expectation. We both show up and everything. So I came down at 5 and there was still no Ben. And I was like, that's strange. I wonder what's going on. Maybe there's a really big need or something. About 5:15, I decided to call him and text him, hey, when are you going to be home? I was getting dinner ready. 5:30 came, 5:45, 6, 6:30. So now dinner's done and there's still no Ben. So now I'm starting to get worried because we don't have lapses in communication like that very often. And so now I'm starting to get worried, like, oh man, there must be something really wrong. And then 7 o'clock comes, did family council, and now I'm loading the kids up to go to the park for a few minutes before bedtime. I go out into the garage and there's Ben in the garage talking with a neighbor. And so I started to feel a little defensive, but I was like, maybe there's a good reason. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. What time is it? And I'm like, it's 7. He's like, are you kidding me? So he had let time slip by. The entire time I thought he was gone doing service, he was actually chatting in our garage with a neighbor. So I started getting like really upset. I didn't express it yet, but I was feeling that feeling of, are you kidding me? You lost track of time for 2.5 hours? You know, how could you not notice that we had had dinner and we'd had family council? And so my expectation was that he was supposed to be there and he wasn't there. He didn't check his phone. He didn't communicate. And so I was really mad. So in this kind of situation, we have several choices. Let's talk about the old way. So the old way would be to, I'm going to call it retreat. And I'm not going to draw words because you can't see them because it flips with the image. I don't have my nice camera today. So this is my best attempt at someone running, I guess. They're running away. This is their speed, okay? They're running away. So one of the first things to do when we get really upset, and there's 3 basic tendencies we're going to talk about today. There might be others that you're experiencing, so go ahead and leave a comment if you feel like I haven't touched on yours, but these are 3 really common ones. So this is to retreat. This is to shut down. This is to run away. This is to pull back from your partner. So you feel like, man, you didn't meet my need. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to really see you, and I definitely don't want to be your friend tonight. I don't want to, you know, any of your needs don't really matter because you didn't meet my needs. And so this is kind of that ping pong match going back and forth. So we start to shut down, so then they start to shut down, and it kind of goes back and forth like that. So I noticed that's a tendency of mine in particular, being really honest. So my old programming is to shut down and want to withdraw from him. I don't want to communicate. I'm really angry. And I learned that because I wasn't raised in a home where you could actually address problems and have them be solved in a productive way. So thank you, I appreciate all the hearts and thumbs ups. And so instead of like confronting a problem, it was better if you just didn't. So that's retreating. At the same time, I'm still punishing him to a certain degree by doing that. And I literally did it for probably 20 or 30 seconds. Before Ben came over, he noticed the signs. He's really good. But he came over and he gave me a hug. And he said, can I walk with you to the park? And I was like, okay, fine. But I was still really pretty upset. And that goes to the next method. So we have that one where we want to pull away from our partner. And then the next one, hopefully we can still see this. Okay, this is fire. I don't know, flames. That's fire. That's my best attempt at fire right now. There we go. Is to fuel the fire. And often when we think of angry people, this is what immediately comes to mind. So when you're really upset, sometimes you try to fight fire with fire, right? So you're only adding more fuel to a tense or difficult situation. So there are several things that we really want to avoid doing here. And some of the really common ones would be to immediately start attacking the other person. You don't care about me. You don't love me. You do da 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 da. You know, when you start using the you phrase at them and you start trying to put all of the fear, frustration, anger that you're feeling on that person. Okay, that's a very natural response. Toddlers will do that. But we don't want to be like toddlers. There's definitely a better way. Okay, second thing with fueling the fire is assuming. And we don't ever want to assume that we know exactly what our partner means when they do that. So let me explain what I mean. So assuming is they do several things and you put it together in your mind, like you're the mind reader, and you just assume that you know what they mean by that. You don't ask them, and you don't know for sure. But in your mind, this plus this plus this equals this. So my husband or my wife must feel this way, or they must think this way. And so that's assuming. And that's very, very dangerous, because if you come to them with an assumption, I'm sure you've been there, where someone completely misunderstood you, completely misread you, and they said, well, you did this because of this. And you're like, that's not where I'm coming from at all, right? It immediately makes you defensive. It makes you put up walls. And it's really difficult to want to open up to that person, because they see you for the worst thing possible. And that's often not true. It's not even often the case. Hey, Tank, how's it going? Yeah, to avoid an argument. Yep. And then another thing that we want to avoid doing with fueling the fire is any form of disrespect. Okay, that's only going to create a more tense situation. So we definitely want to avoid those three of attacking, assuming, and disrespecting. And this needs to happen ideally on both sides. However, you can only work with you. I can only work with me. So we ourselves are going to make sure that we do the best that we can to handle these things in the new way, in a productive way. So we have that anger, we have that frustration with our spouse, we can handle it the right way. Now, the last thing, I don't know if I can draw this one. I don't really know. We'll try. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get it right. Okay, that's crossing fingers. I don't know. It looks like some cigarettes or sausages or something. That's crossing fingers. Crossing fingers. So the cross your fingers method is where you try to ignore the situation completely. So some people, when they get really, really upset about something, they don't bring it up. They don't even retreat. It's different than that. They just bury it. They don't want to make a scene. They think it's only going to make it worse, and they don't know how to handle the situation to get their needs met. They don't know how to express that you actually really hurt me. That actually really angered me. And so what do? They just suppress it and act like nothing's wrong. I'm fine. We're fine. And internally, they're not. Internally, you're not, if you've ever been in that situation. What usually happens is that those things build and build and build until there's somewhat of a tipping point. Okay, a lot of people that suppress, cross the fingers approach, thinking, oh, maybe if I just ignore this, everything will work out. It often escalates to the point where it explodes into something really nasty. Or the opposite is then they'll just leave. And we've seen that too, which is really frightening to the other person, because they said, I didn't ever know that anything was wrong. All of a sudden they were just out. They were just done. They just left me. And I never knew that. And so when you suppress things and you don't express that to your partner, you're also not giving them the opportunity to work on things with you, to grow and to learn and to make a stronger marriage. It's kind of like, I like the garden analogy. If our spouse was pouring battery acid on our plant and we just didn't say anything until it was just dead, that never gave them the opportunity, or you the opportunity, to make it right, to build it stronger, to improve things. Okay? So these are the old ways. It's definitely not the way that we want to handle our anger. So I'm going to go here to a comment from Leah. My husband and I are not even talking right now, and only been married a year, over me telling him my true inner feelings, and he shut me down. Okay. How long have you not been talking? You've been married over a year, and your true inner feelings. Yeah, you bring up a really good point here, Leah. Another really common thing we see is that in marriage, men often want more sex. This is generalized, but men often want more sex and want their wives to complain less. And while we definitely think couples should have more sex, that's always a good thing, we don't think that the complaining should come down at all. In fact, we think that's actually a sign of a really healthy marriage. Now, complaining isn't exactly the word. What you mentioned here, Leah, was sharing your true inner feelings, opening up your heart and having heart-centered communication. And we think that a thriving marriage is one where it is safe for someone to say, that really hurt me. that made me feel this way, and for the couple to work together on that to address those really true inner feelings. Now, this is a generalization again, but something often, because women tend to be more communicative about our feelings and needing to talk about things, is that what do men do? Sometimes they ignore, sometimes they shut down, or they belittle and they turn it around. So that's the opposite of what we want to do. We want to actually encourage our spouse to tell us their true feelings and have a safe place and have structure in your relationship to do that. Now, like I mentioned before, I did not grow up with that kind of skill set. I did not have those kind of skills. And so I often would turn to the retreating, to the anger. I was not so much of a suppressor, but definitely experienced some of that in our relationship. And it took several years of Ben's patience with me and my diligence in learning a new way to learn how to communicate that. And so that's something that you and your spouse, Leah, can learn how to do too. It is a specific skill set, and you have to create that environment and a structure that supports having healthy, heart-centered communication, especially when we're talking about hurt and, hurt feelings, angered feelings. So let's jump into that. I didn't see another comment from you, Leah, but if you want to go ahead and add a little bit more into there, that would be just great. So now we want to talk about the new way. So the new way is first to ask. Ask your spouse if you are allowed to share. Ask them, is it okay if I share how I'm feeling? Is it okay if I share, how I'm feeling right now? And the difference between that and, launching into them, like if you just start attacking them, or if you just start spewing out, you hurt me so much and this and this and this and this, what is the likelihood that that is going to end in a productive conversation? What is the likelihood that that is actually going to resolve issues? So many times we see marriages where there are just unresolved issues year after year after year, simply because they don't have the right foundation in place. They don't have the structure and the support to be able to resolve issues. So by asking, is it okay if I can share how I feel? Then you're allowing a space. They're able to grant you permission, which shows respect, which is opposite of this, right? Which is disrespect. It's showing respect to them, and it's making sure that you've created the right time and the right space. Because if you're still in any of these modes where you're just going to lose it, or if they are retreating from you, if they are ignoring, if you're in any one of those, kind of situations, that's not the productive time to handle this. So, for instance, like I said, I got really, really upset on Sunday. And I needed some space and some time to get to a place where I could handle it productively, right? Ultimately, you have to ask yourself, what is it that I really want? Okay, what is it that I really want? Is it that I want Ben, in my case, you can insert whatever, my spouse, do I really want them to feel the way I do? No. Do I want them to understand the way that I feel? Yeah. Do I want them to respect the way that I feel? Yeah. Do I want the behavior to change? The one that hurt me? Yeah. Do I want to show Ben some understanding and give him the benefit of a doubt? Yes. Do I think I know why he did what he did? I think I do. But do I know for sure? No. So would it be good to get some clarity on why he did what he did? Yeah, I should get some clarity and have some understanding, right? So taking a step back from that heat of that emotion to uncover what it is that you really, really want. If something hurts you so bad, if something makes you so mad, then come at it from a place where you're going to get a solution, where you're going to get resolution, something long-term, not the immediate explosion of emotion. You know that that's not going to get you what you want ultimately. What you want ultimately is connection. You want understanding. You want respect. You want a place where you can get your needs met. You want to come together as a team. Sometimes you need to establish boundaries. All of those things need to come from the right place. So taking a step back, asking, is it okay if I share my feelings? Is that as threatening as, why did you do that? You didn't even think about me. Why weren't you even there? You know, there's a huge difference. And your partner will sense the shift. They will sense where you're coming from. You might still be angry. I was definitely still angry. But I was in a productive place to talk about it. I needed to make sure he was in a productive place to talk about it. And he was. He actually immediately apologized. And I told him, okay, I forgive you, but I'm actually not ready to forgive you just yet. Because I really want to talk to you about this so that you can understand where I'm at and so that this doesn't happen again. So the next one is, I'm just going to do an S for this. That's backwards for you guys, but that's okay. It's not a sneak. It's okay. We'll do a U. Well, never mind. I already did it. So it's supposed to be an S. I know it's probably flipped for you guys, but that's okay. But we're going to do it SU. Show understanding. And that goes to the point where I want to understand where you're coming from. And this is the opposite of assume, right? Assume is fueling the fire. So if I show understanding and I ask, you know, what happened? I lost track of time. And I'm so sorry, right? So immediately right there, I can extend some compassion to him. Should that have happened? No, not in my book. And he knows that. And it's not okay to him either. But it happens, right? Sometimes we lose track of time. And so for me to have some understanding and some compassion for wherever he was coming from. And a lot of the challenges and the confrontations that we have, we really don't know where our spouse is coming from. Maybe they have a really, really hard time, right? Maybe they had something that triggered an intense emotional pain from their past, and then they brought that home. And, you know, so we don't always know, we never really know where they're coming from. And so making sure we give space to allow ourselves to be open to understanding where they're truly coming from. Okay. Sarah Bystrom, thank you. She says it's not backwards. You can write it out. Okay, awesome. That's cool. I don't know if it's just people's, anyway, last time I did it, everything was backwards. And I think maybe it was my other computer, but that's cool. And Vicki said, I'm so grateful you're sharing this subject because we really need help with this. Yeah, you're very welcome. Absolutely, Vicki. So yeah, okay, so we want to show that understanding. And then stepping back just a minute, I realized I forgot a little bit about the asking to share. So once your partner agrees, you've created that space. Okay, I'm going to share my feelings. What you're going to use is, I feel this, insert your emotion, because this. And the reason why you want to frame it that way is that's the opposite of attacking. Okay, I'll use an example. And that's the opposite of assuming or disrespecting. What you're doing is you're not saying you're wrong, you did this, you're awful, you're the worst person ever. Right, it's the opposite of that. It's saying, you know, Ben, when you stayed out in the garage talking to your friend for 2.5 hours and you completely forgot about me and the kids, it made me feel like we weren't as important. Can you understand that? Can you understand why? And he said, yeah, I can understand why. That was not my intention. I did not mean to make you feel that way. Here's a really important truth about our feelings. Our feelings are true, whether they're actually true, like there's truth or not, because it's the way we feel. So if someone says, I feel that way, that's true to them. And even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true because almost everything Ben does throughout the week shows me the opposite, that we are important to him and that he does love and care for us. And there was just this one instance, an entire week, probably actually several weeks, where it was the opposite to me. But it was that one thing that then made me feel like I wasn't as important. And so instead of suppressing that, instead of pulling away from him, instead of throwing it in his, in his face or blaming him or anything like that, I simply said that. To me, it feels like this when you do that. And that is actually a beautiful gift. he actually thanked me for sharing that. He said, I can understand why you would feel that way. I did not mean to make you feel that way. And now I can understand where you're coming from. So that helps us on the flip side. When our spouse shares with us what they're feeling and why, that helps us understand better. You know, because Ben could easily misunderstand if I just said, oh, you know, I was a little upset, but it's okay. You know, then maybe next time he thinks I'm actually okay with that, and I'm not. So it's important that we're really clear and have a safe space where we can communicate our anger or our hurts, but in a non-threatening way, in a more productive way. So that's what that's about. So showing understanding to them that, you know, he actually didn't mean that. He did not mean to make me feel less important. So now I'm able to move towards be a team. So T for team, go team. But being a team, okay. So now I understand where you're coming from. We both shared our feelings about it. You said you're sorry. You didn't mean for it to happen. I said it hurt me and I was angry. Now we are showing understanding to each other. What are we going to do about this going forward? What can be a plan so that we don't get stuck in a cycle of this? And if you're in a cycle of this, you know, that's a whole different thing. then you really need to start applying some of these rules, these tools, I mean, because you know what happens if you express your needs and then they keep doing the same thing that bothers you over and over and over again. And then if you really, I would encourage you to really look at each of these. Are you fully applying each of these, or are you letting some of this slip in? If you're letting some of this slip in, then it's not going to be as effective, right? It's like allowing a couple weeds to kind of come in, a couple more weeds, right? So we want to make sure we get rid of any of the weeds. And then also taking a look at needs being met in your marriage, because there's a likely possibility that there are some of their needs that you're not meeting, and so they're less willing to want to meet your needs. And that kind of becomes that vicious cycle going back and forth. So when you come together as a team, you're both working on the same side. We're no longer on opposing sides anymore. It's not me versus Ben, husband versus wife, right? We come together on the same side of the table and we look at the issue for what it is. Okay, if I lose track of time, this is unpleasant thing happens. It makes Heather really hurt. We want to avoid that in the future. I want to respect her as well. And I want to show Ben compassion, understanding, respect. Maybe another issue is, you flip it around, Ben might need some more time to hang out with friends. Maybe he's really craving some guy time to go chat in the garage. So you can look at those different things to make sure, are we getting our needs met, and what's a plan for us going forward to make sure that we are on the same side, so that we're on the same team fighting the same battle, right? So that unity is what blesses a marriage to become strong and thriving and meet the different challenges that come up. Because let's face it, like I said, we're going to continue to get upset with each other. There are going to be things that our spouse does that just really makes us mad. But as we go forward with the right tools and the new way of showing respect and understanding, asking for permission to share feelings, allowing your spouse to share their feelings, respecting those feelings, understanding where they're coming from, and then coming together as a team to create a plan to go forward so that you're not stuck in the same cycle, hashing out the same problems over and over and over again. That's really how you can move yourself forward. So I don't see any other comments here. So if anyone else has a question or anything, I have just a few more minutes, we can chat. If not, that's totally cool. But I hope you found this valuable. I appreciate being able to share it. Like I said, it absolutely changed my life as I learned that these skills, they can be learned. It takes time and it takes some effort to change some of those habits. And a lot of them are emotional walls that we've built up and patterns that we're modeling from others. So learning how to break those patterns and create new models for ourselves and new ways of being, that's our job. Because what is it that we ultimately want? We do not want to stay stuck in any of these. These do not feel good, right? And they only compound over the years. And so if you or your spouse are stuck in any of these and really feel like you need help, then go ahead and reach out to us. That's what we specialize in doing. So awesome, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm excited to share it with you. Let me know how you guys do with this over the next little while. Go ahead and check in. Next time you get angry, try to remember the new way and to apply that with your spouse, and let me know how it goes. All right, guys. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.